fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Drivers, start your engines!
Michael Conti comes up at a corner number 4 to the checkered flag. He wins his first NASCAR high-ranking.
Take your hobby to the next level with a quality racing rig that works great with a PS3, Xbox 360, and a PC. GT Omega Racing Simulator is compatible with a wide range of steering wheels including Logitech, Fanatec, Thrustmaster, and more. The GT Omega is available now worldwide by going to www.gtomegaracing.com.
Good evening everyone, and welcome to ARL-TV's GP260 series. This is a penultimate round from Circuit Park Zandvoort. My name is Lee Thompson. You may know me mostly from DNFs in this series, and I'm joined tonight by Dean Prescott. Evening, Dean.
Evening, Lee. Sorry, I was just chuckling to myself with your intro. It's very nice to have you up here.
Yeah, reacquainting ourselves from our Sunday night activities normally when we cover the iRacing Grand Prix series most Sunday nights at 6 o'clock GMT. We have around 7.5 minutes left of qualifying, and just a few minutes ago, João Rodrigues banged in a great lap of 1 minute 32.5 to put himself in pole position for now, and we're just waiting for these last few minutes to close up qualifying so we can see the grid for, as I said, our penultimate round, round 17 of 18 of Season 1. We've been seeing lots of off-track incidents so far, Dean, haven't we, as we've been watching these first 12 minutes?
Yes, plenty. Seems to be turn 3 and turn 7 catching most people out.
Yeah, you know, it's either really losing the rears of the car that we're watching, or yeah, just literally running out of space, running up over the curbs on the exits. And it's a tough little circuit, this one. Yeah, quite well suited to the Star Mazdas in terms of its size. I was here a couple of weeks ago in the F1 car, and it felt maybe a little bit tight for that. But these Star Mazdas are very, very loose around this circuit with the cambers as well.
Yeah, so we're just coming up to 7 minutes remaining. We've got João Rodrigues on pole so far, Marco Montaldo second, Peter Velko third, Colin Cunningham fourth, Nenad fifth, Wojciech Robstein sixth, John Allett seventh, Fabio Mantellini in eighth, Charles Sears in ninth, Liam Williams has just jumped up to 10th, knocking Aaron down to 11th, Knut in 12th and Conrad in 13th. So it's not the biggest grid we've had all season. That could be down to it being, like you said, the penultimate round, so...
Yeah, we've got a couple of extra drivers as well who haven't yet set a time. Most notably, of course, Tony Repizard. So at the minute, we're unsure as to whether it's a problem perhaps that Tony has had, or whether he's decided that being that he's sewn up the championship already, that he wants to perhaps start from the back of the grid and have a little bit of fun and try and push his way through. So we'll wait and see what happens with that. But so far, yeah, no qualifying time from Tony.
I don't actually think he's in the session. He left a couple of minutes ago. So I'm not sure if he's having some problems, like you said, but there's also myself, yourself, Lee, and Darren Kirk, the sixth position wonder, who's doing the cameras tonight. So
yes, that means then when they come up to gridding, everybody is sat there for the full 2 minutes waiting for us to never arrive at the grid. So at least that makes our life a bit easier knowing when we can be ready for the green lights. Okay, well, we've got less than 5 minutes left to qualify now. Let's have a little run through the tables, remind ourselves as to the current standings with just 1 round to go after this. We already know that Tony Repisard, of course, has sewn up the championship, so he was uncatchable. You know, he showed that quite early on in the rounds, but yeah, just a few rounds ago, he officially sewed up the championship. Peter Velkov looks pretty secure in his second position, and then we've got a big battle from third at the moment between Nenad Matijevich and Marco Montaldo, just 4 points between them, so very, very close. Close also between Paul Nelson in fifth, Colin Cunniff in sixth, again just a point between them. Then we've got João Rodriguez seventh. He'll be looking to make amends for his slightly difficult week last week at Phillip Island, though he did manage to score a good result in the end. Liam Williams is in 8th. He jumped up a good few places after his second position finish last week. John Allen at 9th, and Wojciech Rabstein in 10th position, rounding up the top 10. So, as I said, the battle that we're really looking at is who can get that final position on the podium for the championship between Nenad and Marco.
yeah, it does look like Tony has just rejoined, so
Yeah, it doesn't look like we've had any major changes so far in the qualifying order since you ran us through a few minutes ago. We've still got João Rodriguez a couple of tenths ahead of Marco Montaldo. In practice session, I think we saw Tony Repisard run a 32.2, so pole position at the minute is a 32.5. So we know there's that potential there for Tony to jump up the standings if he does decide to put a time in, or if he's able to.
also seem to have a latecomer of Justin Lindsay. I think I've just seen flash up on screen.
Yeah, and he is out on track, so he's going to be looking to put a time in as well. We've not seen Justin for the last couple of weeks, I believe, so it'd be interesting to see whereabouts Justin can get himself on the grid. So really into the last couple of minutes of qualifying now. So these are the last 2 laps, maybe 3, depending on exactly where they're on the track for these guys to make any real changes. It's very, very tight in the minute. So we've got 32.5 for João Rodriguez, 32.7 for Marco Montaldo, and a 32.8 for Peter Velkov. So just 3 tenths between the top 3. Then it's very, very close in between 4th and 7th. 33 zeros all the way through from 4th to 7th. So tight between that little group there. And yeah, again, if any of those can make just a slight improvement, they're really going to improve quite a lot on the grid. And you know, the first couple of corners in lap 1 here at Zandvoort, you want to be up the front of the grid if you can. You want to give yourself the cleanest possible run into turn 1 and into turn 3.
Tell you what, let's try something different. Let's pull Liam Williams up. He's just sat in the pits at the minute, so let's give him a pre-race interview. Good evening, Mr. Williams. Can see you sat in the pits at the minute.
Yeah, I can't. I just can't get a lap in quicker than I've done.
Now, this is something new to us. We've got someone who's actually driving before the grid, so what's your strategy for tonight?
I'm just trying to think that out, because I have heard that the tyre wear is quite bad, so I am contemplating just a 50-50 split. Though I may come in a little bit before that. As you well know, I do enjoy pitting early. I'll just see how the race goes, really, see who's around me, that kind of thing. I'll be starting with enough fuel so I can change it on the fly, so yeah, that should be alright.
And with the first couple of corners here, like last week, Liam, we can easily, if you can just get a clean first couple of laps, you could easily find yourself way up the order anyway. So, yeah, good luck for the race. Hopefully the tyre wear doesn't catch you out too badly.
Thank you.
I'll keep an eye on you. I may pull you up again mid-race if
Yeah,
you feel okay.
That's fine by me.
Thank you very much, Liam.
No problem.
Right, good luck again, mate.
Oh.
So
Cheers,
we're
I'll
into
see
the
you later.
last few seconds now of qualifying. So everybody really has just got a last couple of seconds to cross that start-finish line before they can complete their first lap, or their last lap rather. Looks like Nenad Matijevich is probably going to be the final car over the line. He's got the chance to finish, to start a new lap rather. Tony Ripizard has registered a time now, so he's stone last on the grid, so he has put a time in. So we'll see if he hangs on for this next final lap.
No, he looks like he's jumped into the pits, Tony, so...
There you go, so that's that then. Tony not on pole position, starting from the back of the grid. That'll be interesting to see how he can get through those first few laps.
So it looks like Joel's just come around to finish his final lap. It looks like he's just killed that one.
Yeah, and we've had a couple of improvements in time. So the most notably looks like that Marco Montaldo has jumped Peter Velkov into second position. So see, he's made up a position there on the grid. And you know, again, just these last couple of seconds now for these drivers to lock in their position on the starting grid.
Oh, 55 so remaining.
Yeah, and I was expecting Nenad Matijevich to be the final car over the line, but he's abandoned his lap already. So we've got Wojciech Rabstein. That really is the last car that we're looking at that can make a change to his position. He's currently in fourth position, very, very close even to second place on the timings. So he's just coming through the second half of the lap now, through the tight infield section. And in fact,
doesn't actually complete it.
I think he must have gotten off track. So that was him done. That was Wojciech Rabstein done. So this is our final grid positions then for the penultimate round of the GP260 series. João Rodrigues did manage to hold on to that pole position, so he'll be delighted with that after his tough first lap that he had last week at Phillip Island. Marco Montaldo in second position. Well, actually, then that could be interesting because it was a collision, of course, between Rodrigues and Montaldo that upset both of their races at Phillip Island. So hopefully they can get cleanly through. Peter Velkov then in P3 with Wojciech Rabstein less than what we're at 4 thousandths of a second behind in fourth position. Wow. Fifth position is John Allett. Sixth is Colin Cunniff. Seventh is Nenad Matijevich. Eighth is Fabio Mentalini. Ninth is Charles Sears. 10th is Justin Lindsay. 11th is Liam Williams, who we spoke to a moment ago. 12th Aaron Mullen. 13th Martinson. 14th Conrad Venter. 15th is Tony Ripizard.
I'm not forgetting yourself there.
And so everybody's been stuck on a grid waiting for me to never appear. So we're just going to be hoping that everyone can get through turn one now as they come off the line. You know, it's a heavy braking zone and probably the main overtaking opportunity that we have on a circuit, barring any other mistakes from drivers. So let's hope that we can all get cleanly through and see a great exciting race with lots of cars all running on the same lap.
We've got 25 seconds remaining. So yeah, just look like we're waiting for yourself. So this will count down. Got 10 seconds left.
Absolutely, lights are going to be going green any moment. We've got Team Venezuela locking out the front row. Let's see if that's the position they can hold on to as they enter the race. Absolutely. So revs are building, waiting for the lights to go green. And they're away, nice and clean from both the front cars there. You're looking pretty side by side, but we've got three abreast already in the background. Looks like João Rodrigues has managed to take a good position into turn one there, looking like he should be clean going through, but in the background behind, just about everybody manages to get through that turn one. We've just got Liam Williams a little bit wide outside of turn one there, as we're head now into turn three. So João's managed to make a little bit of a break, good clean getaway from Marco Montaldo behind, holding on to that second position. Just behind then Marco Montaldo, we have... my screen's making my life a little bit difficult for myself for some reason. So we've got, João Rodrigues and Marco Montaldo, and then from there...
Rabstein.
Sorry, thank you, Dean, I'll let you take it.
John Allett, Nenad, Colin Cunniff, Fabio, Justin Lindsay, Charles, who's getting a lot of pressure from Tony Repizard starting from the back of the grid, but he's held on to that one. So Tony, like I just said, Liam, Aaron Mullen, Knut, and Conrad rounding out.
Great, thank you, Dean. My shift button's helping me a lot more now than my control button was a second ago. So very, very close between Wojciech Lapsin and Peter Velkov as they come on towards the final corner and then onto the front straight. Let's see if Peter Velkov can get a decent run coming out of that final corner now and challenge into turn 1. I'd expect there to be a decent bit of draft for these cars as they come down this main straight now. And let's see, but of course everyone, I guess, apart from Zhao, has got that advantage of the draft. So the whole grid looks like they're on the front straight together, so that's good. A good clean lap from everyone to start us off should give us the opportunity for a decent bit of entertainment for the race. Or side by side in the background between Justin Lindsay and between Tony Repizard as he fights his way back up through the grid. So they are almost side by side coming out of turn 1 as Tony Repizard follows very, very closely now as they come up towards the fast S's. He's going to have to really just follow all the way through. He's not going to be able to have an opportunity to push past unless Justin makes an error getting onto the grass. But Tony's as close as he could be, right up his gearbox, and really pressured maybe Justin's a little bit of a mistake there, pushing wide. So Tony's going to look to go up the inside now as they come into this fast left-hander. He's going to just back out of it a little bit, but Justin again runs wide. And now Tony's got Charles up the inside. Charles is going to get nabbed both of them. Lindsay comes back around the outside. Wow. So 3 changes of position in a couple of corners there. Justin holding on, Charles Sears just in front, and Tony Repizard's been shuffled back a position. Justin runs a little bit wide again. Charles Sears looking to go up the inside. He's going to be on the outside of the next corner though, so Justin is looking good to hold on to this into the tight chicane. Tony Repizard challenging closely in the background now. And there's a contact between, I thought there, Tony and Charles. Just about, they both got away with it. Cleanly out coming through. And again, Charles got a good run on Justin Lindsay. Justin Lindsay goes defensive coming onto the final corner. And Charles just backs out of it a little bit. So what a great couple of corners that was through the infield there. I don't think it's going to be over yet either.
No, it just seems like everyone's backing up just behind this, but Lindsay has gone defensive down straight, but...
Yeah, and Justin really hasn't got the draft from the cars in front, so Charles has got the opportunity now. He's going to try and go around the outside. I reckon Tony's going to follow as well. But Tony dives up the inside. Yeah, Charles was quite early on the brakes there. Is Tony Repizard going to be able to get both of them?
Both of them?
Yeah, he's going to hold that line now into turn 2. So it's taken Tony Repizard a lap. Oh,
Justin's
Lindsay into the wall.
Barriers.
So he's going to use up his free toe now early in the race. From my vantage point, it didn't look like contact really, but perhaps just pushed him onto an outsider line. So that was a shame that it ended a little bit badly for Lindsay there, but what a great battle for a whole lap between those 3 cars. So back up front, we've still got João Rodrigues followed by his teammate Marco Montaldo playing tail gunner. Wojciech Lapsin in a good strong third position with Peter Velkov not really able to close up in those last couple of laps since we've been away. John Allett is closer to Peter Velkov, so he's been trying to challenge now as they come through next lap. And Nenad Matejevich is got Colin Conniff behind him.
Oh, Charles has spun. Coming out of the long S's, Charles has spun, letting everybody through other than Justin. I'm guessing he's taken his fast toe. So that moves up Liam Williams up into 10th, is that now? So Liam's back into the points. Tony is chasing down the pace car apparently. It's Fabio Montalini.
Yeah, and with that bit of action we have had now in a couple of laps, of course, it has strung that field out a lot more. We're looking very, very close to everyone after those first couple of laps, but now we've just got a couple of breaks in the field. João Rodrigues just had a little bit of an average turn 3 maybe. Marco Montaldo's really gained a lot of time now through that first little section of a lap, and he's going to be just trying to stay in that draft now as they come through this fast sequence of corners. Very, very quick right-handers as we come through here.
For both Venezuelan cars are up front 1 and 2, but they do have Wojciech with a lot of pressure. So just going through the final of the long S's, it's a bit of a strange sequence of corners that, because you're coming back on yourself and then going back around again, so
Yeah, and these cars especially are so light on the rear. You've got to be so careful with your timing for your downshifts as you come in, making sure that you're not stabbing on the power too early. And just as we saw from Charles Sears a lap ago, it's very easy just to lose these cars coming through those slower sequences. Looks like Marco Montaldo's just dropped back a little bit north from João Rodrigues in the second half of a lap now. But Wojciech hasn't really been able to capitalise. I thought he might have closed up a little bit further there as they came through that second half.
Just going to have a look at this gap between Fabio Mantilini and Tony Repizard, and it's around about a second. So Tony is really chiding. His last lap was a 32.9. That's a 132.9, so...
Yeah, and that's quicker than the leaders. So the leaders are running low 33s. So, Tony maybe just looking to show off a little bit, but as I said, he's got the championship sewn up. He's got nothing to lose, and a bit of variation from him, a bit of battling to do. We know he's quick, but it's going to be interesting to see if he can overtake as well. He's not had to really do that a huge amount this season.
It does look like we've got Justin Lindsay back on track as well, although a lap down. He come out just behind Tony actually. But we've got another little battle just ahead of Fabio and Tony, which is Colin Cunniff and Nenad. Colin's coming into the final chicane a little bit further back than he would like to be to put a move on, but he will be in the draft.
And coming onto the front straight, Wojciech Rabsin get a decent final corner. Looks like he's going to be close coming down the front straight now. So if he can keep that draft, then we might see him having a little bit of a sniff. And we see Wojciech not being afraid to make adventurous moves at times. So if he just has a sniff of an opportunity into turn one, I think we'll see him taking it on Marco Montaldo. But didn't quite get close enough on this lap. But if he can keep in this track of Marco there, then we'll see what he can do for the next things. But yeah, he's looking like he feels he's quicker and that he can challenge and get up to João ahead in first position. And I think we saw a moment ago, did we, that Tony Repizard made that position on, was it Mantilini?
Indeed he did.
So Wojciech Rabsin all over the back of Marco Montaldo now as they come through this first sector. So as the circuit starts to tighten up now, starts to slow down, he just needs to, again, stay as close as he can to the diffuser of Marco Montaldo there. But actually, if anything, he's lost out a little bit to Peter Velkoff behind. So Peter Velkoff is really getting in on this. So the front four, they're just fluctuating a little bit as there's slight errors here and there. But there's really nothing to choose between them at the minute. And further behind, John Allett is just waiting for the opportunity for the guys ahead to start battling and for him to be able to close up. He's not far behind, just a second and a half or so. So again, we'll see how good an exit Wojciech Rabsin can get out of that final chicane. Looks like he's going to be pretty close again as they come through these final couple of corners. But it's just how good of an exit you can get, how good of a drive you can get onto this front straight. This is the main overtaken opportunity into turn one. Looks pretty similar to the last lap, so I think we're going to see him close, but maybe not having an opportunity to make a move yet. And further behind, Colin Cunniff comes into the pits, so what lap are we on now? Lap 6, that's a little bit early for a scheduled pit stop, but possibly just enough to get him to the end of the race. So whether that's planned, scheduled, or whether that's for damage, we'll wait and see as we carry on through. But Colin Cunniff first into the pits.
Yeah, I was just comparing the top speeds of Wojciech and not Peter Velkoff, Marco Montaldo down the back straight, and they're both hitting exactly the same, so the draft isn't really...
Well, the problem is, I guess, that Marco Montaldo is still in the draft of João Rodrigues there, so I guess the interesting one is a difference in top speed between Rodrigues and Montaldo, but yeah, as long as Montaldo's hanging on to the coattails of Rodrigues, then it's going to be tough for Rabsin to get that run.
Just looking a little bit further back in the order, there's a little bit of a team battle between 12th and 13th between Knut and Conrad. Those two are within a second as Knut goes wide and Conrad comes up the inside, now on the outside. It'd be difficult to make it stick around there. which he hasn't, but coming into the final chicane, still going at it hammer and tongue, these two teammates. Conrad goes for the inside and side by side, a little bit of contact. But it looks like Conrad is through.
And we have Nenad Matjevich now into the pits as well, so lap 7 he's pitted as well. So again, we haven't seen any contact, any damage between anyone and Matjevich on my screen, so that seems like it's scheduled maybe. Perhaps he's feeling like Liam Williams has told us earlier on, he likes to go through his early stops, get out of the traffic, get himself some clean running. So we'll see how that pans out for Matjevich as well. So far that's Cunniff and Matjevich on possibly scheduled stops. So that really now means then that the front 5 have broken away, quite a big gap. So we've got Rajal Rodriguez still in first position, Marco Montaldo behind, Wojciech Rabstein just running a little bit wide coming through the fast corners there in third position, Peter Velkov 4th, John Allett in 5th, and then, wouldn't you know it, 6th position, Tony Repizard. Clear open track in front of him, trying to gain on these 5 cars further up ahead. So Tony Repizard from last on the grid to P6 after 8 laps. So for the moment then, it's just settled down a little bit between the leaders. We've got a bit of even space between a lot of them. Everyone having a draft apart from Rodriguez, of course, in first. And it's just trying to keep it consistent, bang those lap times in. They've got a forced stop, don't forget. Everybody has to make a mandatory pit stop based on the level of fuel that they're allowed to put in at the start of the race. And we have seen in previous races, of course, that little bit of strategic choice that perhaps we've seen Matjevich and Cunniff make can just affect the order a little bit. So these guys will be considering that by now, I'm sure, and deciding what their course action is going to be. So really now then, the whole field has spread themselves out reasonably well, and so it does look like we're going to be waiting for the pit stops to start kicking in to give us some more choices on strategy again. Further back, we said about Matjevich and Cunniff both having made their pit stops. They've actually come out very close to each other. I think Cunniff has gained a fair bit on Matjevich, so there was a reasonable gap between them before they pitted, but now Cunniff is just a second and a half, 2 seconds or so behind.
Yeah, I've just been flicking through, and there's, like you said, there's nothing much really happening. It will be down to the pit stops before we see any kind of action.
Yeah, and the other bit of strategic variation, of course, is that Liam was telling us that they're expecting quite high tyre wear here. So, there could be a little bit of option in terms of somebody taking a risk and not taking tyres, just taking fuel. That's the shortest possible stop bend that you could give yourself. But, sounds risky at the end of the race. Also, conceivably somebody could decide to go for 2 tyres. Again, that's going to be a little bit quicker than taking all 4. But we've heard from other drivers in the rest of the year that actually that can create a fair unbalance, as I watch Rabstein go very, very wide on the penultimate corner coming into the front straight. Peter Velkov's going to get a little bit of a run in him now, just to close that gap into turn 1.
Yeah, I wouldn't have imagined any of these top 4 or 5 guys would be taking tyres, simply to save time and to try and get the jump on them, but...
It's possible. I mean, I was reading Nenad Matjevich's comments earlier in the week, and I saw him saying that if it was just a few laps longer, he'd be thinking about making 2 stops, let alone 1. So, we'll see if that's the same for everyone, or perhaps that's a quirk of Matjevich's setup or driving at the circuit. But it's going to be a risk to do something from different from the norm, certainly.
We've just had Tony into the pits, and it did look like he took tyres. Now that could be quite interesting.
Yeah, and so that's early as well then, so everybody's looking to
let
these guys.
Which was Chelsea, who seems to have jumped back into the pits. Don't know if he just had contact.
Yes, that's him using up his free toe now as well. Of course, he might have had a little bit of damage from his spin earlier on. I didn't see whether he made contact with a wall or not earlier, but that will clear that either way. So yeah, now we're on to lap 10, and let's have a quick run through the top 10. Make sure we know where we are. So as we've been seeing, still in first position there. He's got a second gap now to Marco Montaldo, getting close to just breaking that draft, perhaps even, which is then going to give you an opportunity a lot more for Rabstein in third to get a good run on Montaldo. So second Montaldo, third Rabstein, fourth is Peter Velkov, fifth is John Allett, sixth now is Fabio Mantilini after Tony Repizard is pitted. He's showing in seventh on my screen, but perhaps that was just as a result from his pitting. Eighth then is Liam Williams, ninth Aaron Mullen, 10th Conrad Venter, 11th Knutson Martinson, 12th Charles Sears, we just saw taking that tow, and then 13th and 14th is Masiewicz and Cunniff after their possibly scheduled stops that they've made.
Just getting told that there's a battle between Masiewicz, Colin Cunniff and Tony.
Yeah, and Tony goes up the inside of Colin Cunniff into turn 1 there, so Colin gave him space, run wide. That's going to give Tony a decent run now to come into turn 2. He's just going to settle back a little bit now. Let's see if he's going to make a dive up the inside of turn 3. It'll be very, very risky, but he's not got much to lose, as we said. He decides to take a wider line, try and get a good run as they come past the spinning car there through these S's, but he's not made a massive difference there on Colin, so he's just going to sit behind coming through these S's. But yeah, these 3 cars and all having made those pit stops, they're running right on that same space of track. And in fact, of course, Cunniff has gained quite a lot of time in Masiewicz since I last spoke about him. I was saying there was a second half, 2 seconds gap between them.
Yeah, I think that spinning car was Conrad Venter. He was running in 9th position. So he's dropped back down.
And really, these guys, all on this slightly different strategy perhaps from the rest, this isn't what they want. They don't want to be battling between each other. They needed a clear section of track to bang those quick laps and to leapfrog those cars behind, cars who are ahead still waiting to make their pit stops. And all Colin kind of goes in deep into the chicane, so he wisely didn't turn in, had lost the rear otherwise, and has to bail out of that position to Tony Repzard. So now Tony is going to be hunting down Masiewicz, and he's got a much, much better entry coming into the penultimate corner there. So Masiewicz is going to be under a lot of pressure from Tony Repzard. Masiewicz may just have a whisper of draft from the car in front. He's trying to follow it, but the car dives into the pits. So Tony Repzard's got the draft now coming down the front straight. He's closing, but again, not enough really for a move into turn 1. Tony outbrakes himself. He's going to hang on to the outside of the circuit. I thought he was going to end up in the gravel there, but he manages to gather it back up and just take a wide line going through.
But he still kept the gap relatively close to him. It's very impressive driving from Tony.
And again, if these two just start battling a little bit, then that's going to give Cunniff again a chance to be straight back onto them and get for a sniff in those positions as well again.
Now it does seem to be spreading out up at the front as well, so...
Yeah, and on that note, I was just cycling through the front. I think Peter Velkov must have been into the pits as well, so he's missing now from the top 5, so he's made, presumably, his scheduled stop. As Tony Repzard's very, very close to the back of Masiewicz, so they come through this infield section now. Very different lines between the two of them through that left-hander. That's going to give Tony a slightly better exit, I think, coming down towards the tight chicane, but it doesn't look like it's going to be enough to make a move. But I say that, he goes to the inside, but just to show his nose.
Peter Velkov is actually behind this battle, so he's actually behind Colin Cunniff.
Yeah, so it's working out well for these other 3 cars, and they've made their earlier stops. Peter Velkov was running just ahead of Masiewicz when Masiewicz made his stop. So Tony's much, much closer now into the home straight, and again Masiewicz hasn't got a draft. So let's see the effect then that we have on the circuit. See if Tony's going to get a good run. He's not closed a huge amount, so okay. Difference in setup maybe, but otherwise not a massive difference on a draft. And Tony dives up the inside. Masiewicz gives him space. He's going to try and hang around the outside. He needs the line going into this corner. Otherwise he's going to be at risk when coming into the hairpin. He does. He's going to hold on to that outside line still. He's going to be inside now into turn 3. Nice and steady going, and to make sure he gets a good exit out of the corner. Don't let Tony get a run on him. And he's just about managed to hold that position. So Masiewicz was a little bit fair there, into turn 1, but Tony's going up the side of him into the S's. I'm quite surprised. That's going to be dangerous. So close between them. A little bit of netcode would cause a problem, but they've just hung on to it. Looked like there's a slight bit of contact, but Tony Repzard's finally had to relinquish that position. Wow, so really, a risky moves to be making through that fastest section on the track there, but looks like they've just about got away with it for now.
While that was going on, I pulled Liam up as he jumped into the pits. Let's just catch up with him. How's it going, Liam?
It's going well. Just kept it on track. Charles Sears has been unleashing his inner ballerina again, so that got me a place. There was a great little battle ahead of me between him, Tony and Justin. But yeah, I decided not to take tyres as it's so difficult to get past somebody here. so maybe I can jump somebody in the pits. And I've been trying to drive and save my tyres as much as I can. So yeah, we'll just see how it goes.
Alright, thank you very much, Liam. I'll throw you back down.
And whilst we were talking to Liam there, Tony Repzard did make the move on Nenad Matijevich going into chicane. In the end, fairly safe move, clean from both of them. Not anything like as risky as we saw him from earlier in that. So that's Tony Repzard now up into 6th position. So up front then, it looks like most of the cars now have made their pit stops, because we currently have John Allett leading, so he's yet to pit. So that's both of the Venezuela guys who must have been into the pit by now. And then behind, next car up is Fabio Mantellini, who's yet to pit. So we're just going to take a couple of minutes now to see how it all shakes out, see how everyone lines up on the circuit again.
Ah, sorry. I was just having a flick back. I just saw Joe Rodriguez say laugh out loud in the text. He looks like he's coming into the pits and drove into the wall. So he's had to take his fast tow.
So that's cost him a good chunk of time then. So it looks like our net leader at the moment then is Marco Montaldo. He's currently showing his 2nd position on my screen, but that's with cars yet to pit ahead of him. So he's got a good gap to anybody behind. So it's really looking like that strategy is working out for him at the moment.
Yeah, so this does seem to have sprung out, like you said. Just trying to catch up where everybody is. Tony's just come through into 5th position, but I don't think the guys in front have pitted, other than Wojciech maybe.
Yeah, so you're right. So we have Aaron Mullen, we have Fabio Mantellini, and we have Jean Allett. Those all of the cars that are out of position yet to pit. So actually then, we've got Tony Repzard as the... no, so Wojciech Rabstein, he must have pitted. So I think Rabstein then, he's our current net leader. So Rabstein, then Repzard, then Matijevich, then Peter Velkov, then Colin Cunniff. And so where has Marco Montaldo gone for all of that? I really thought Marco Montaldo was going to be right in the thick of it there.
He's actually showing down in 10th position.
So, yeah, we've had a little bit of action in previous pit stops. It hasn't really turned out the ways that the cars had hoped at the minute. Those early pit stops have worked out despite their battling that I really thought was going to be costing them a lot of time and essentially costing them the opportunity to challenge with that strategy working out. Wojciech Rabstein now all over the back of Aaron Mullen, so if Aaron Mullen doesn't pit on this lap, he's going to be all on the pressure and very, very close between them in the penultimate corner, side by side coming through final corner. Contact! And that is going to be damage for both that they're going to need to repair on. Luckily, final corner, they've not got a long way to go to the pit lane, so they're not actually going to need to use their tow as such, but they'll get their free repair nonetheless. Further up, Matijevich, Peter Velkov. Velkov goes up the inside, coming into turn 1, side by side, just about going to get that line into turn 1, but then it hangs onto the outside line again, like we saw Repzard earlier. He's going to try and get the drive, but it looks like Peter Velkov's just hanging in there, side by side again through turn 2. Menat is going to have the inside into the hairpin, like earlier on, just nice and steady, get a good exit, and he should have Velkov still. Contact as well! Oh, both damage, so Matijevich into the wall, contact with Peter Velkov. That's really shuffled up the order again. We've had 2 big incidents between top cars in those that last lap there, and that really has shuffled things around quite a bit. It's going to take us a moment to, again, figure out the order.
In fact, I think I may have actually put Tony Repzard up into pole position. Possible Colin Cunniff into 2nd.
Yeah, I'll go along with that. It's just John Allett again in front, Fabio Mantellini that we're waiting to pit. So John Allett coming down the front straight. Is he going to pit on this lap? No, he goes round for one more time. So yeah, Tony Repzard. We're never going to hear the end of this, are we? He's come from the back of the grid and he's currently looking like he's going to be leading the race. So Wojciech Rabstein hasn't lost out too badly considering that contact with Aaron Mullen there. So he's just behind Colin Cunniff at the minute, and so he took his free repair on that last pit stop. Wouldn't really cost him any more time. So he's doing okay. 3rd position. No doubt he'll be disappointed it could have been more, but 3rd I think he's going to take for now. And then despite the issue for Rodriguez, he's looking just behind, so that'll be 4th, and then Marco Montaldo just behind João Rodriguez in 5th.
In fact, I'm not sure if Rabstein has actually taken in his pit stop to get repaired there. Just looking on the left-hand side of his car, and it's still very badly damaged.
So perhaps he's hanging on. Matijevich is in the pits again. So, oh, of course, that was from the damage from earlier, so you can ignore that. So yeah, we've still got the two runners up front who've yet to pit. So John Allett still, we're on to lap 17 out of, what, 24 now. So he's not got long to go. He's got to really pit, what, this lap I'd say then. You know, you can't really be going much longer with the fuel that we allow from the cars, which is a 20% fuel capacity. So watching him come around the final corner now, we'll see if he dives into the pits on this lap. And it'll be the same for Mantilini really. I'd expect him in on this lap as well. And yeah, indeed, John Allett peels to the right early then, so John Allett now takes his mandatory pit stop at the end of lap 17, so he's got just 6 laps to go. Nice and clean into the pit lane there. What about Mantilini? So he's just coming around the final corner now as well, and he also goes into the pits. Right, so John Allett in, Mantilini in. We'll see where they shuffle out back on circuit in a moment's time. Tony Repzard's now coming around the final corner, so he's going to be taking the lead, with Colin Cunniff behind, and Roy Epstein still closely following. Interesting where John Allett maybe manages to come out here. So John Allett just waiting for the last bit of fuel to come in now. I saw him just jump back off the jacks from his tyres getting fitted. Tony Repzard's already gone by. There goes Colin Cunniff. Rabstein behind.
He's away now.
He's going to be right in that battle for 3rd position. So that's worked out pretty good for John Allett. We've had a bit of action with other cars getting involved, but he's managed to work that strategy quite well. He's really kept the position that we had behind. He was behind Rabstein by not a huge amount before, and same now. So he's got fresher tyres, of course, as well. So we'll see whether he can challenge those 2 cars in front.
It does mean he can push as well for these last few laps. We're on now lap 18 of 24, so he does have the fresh boots. He's got a damaged car just in front of him. So if he can push and get up close to Wojciech Rabstein, you might be able to push for the 3rd position, maybe even for 2nd.
Yeah, so that really is quickly scan through the field. That really looks like our main opportunity for any battles now. Everyone else again is reasonably well strung out, and now that we've had our what looks like our final scheduled pit stops, I think we'll have a quick run through the order again, make sure we know where we are, make sure we're not lost. I'm not far off lost all those changes there and the action we had a few laps ago.
I'd possibly be tempted to wait for this lap to come through so it updates.
Absolutely, so Tony Repzard now just coming over the line, so he's in 1st position, number 1. Colin Cunniff, P2 just behind. Wojciech Rabstein in 3rd. And then as we said, John Allett, who came out with pits on that last lap, in 4th position. So those are our 3 cars closest on a track at the minute for 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Then next up we have João Rodrigues in 5th. We have Marco Montaldo in 6th. We have then a couple of lapped cars after that. Liam Williams is going to be the next guy by. So he is in 7th position now. Yeah, just updated to 7th. And then we're looking at Fabio Mantilini. He's come out in 8th position just behind Williams. So he's going to be on much fresher tyres than Liam. So I think we'll see a bit of action there as well. And then in 9th position we have Nuts Martinson. And rounding up the top 10 is Konrad Venter.
Again, slow and steady. Keeps you in the points. But then again, he does have Peter Velkov just not that far behind, so Peter is a fast driver. Qualified 3rd, of course. And then we have Aaron Mullen and then Justin Lindsay, who is the last car on the lead lap. But I'm not sure if Justin has pitted yet. Could be mistaken though. But this battle here between Fabio Mantilini and Liam Williams is getting very close.
Yeah, it's just cooled off between the 2nd and 3rd and 4th position. So I think, as you said, Williams is what we're going to be watching now for the next couple of laps, as Mantilini has already closed a fair chunk of time in this lap since we've been with him. He gets a much better exit coming out the chicane there as well, so he's going to be close coming onto the front straight. And again, we'll see if there's much of a draft effect for him looking to get into turn 1. Liam runs a little bit wide coming out there. He'll get away with that. You can just get over that curb a little bit in his Star Mazdas. But he's going to need to go defensive perhaps as they come into turn 1. So see the sort of run that Mantilini gets. But no, really no difference, no massive closing. He shows himself just to. Oh, I was going to say he's a long way back. Is he really going for that? No, okay, good. I hadn't worried. I was going to say I thought it was just showing his nose there just to distract him, but it looked like he was going to make a little bit of a dive bomb going in there, but it was all nice and clean.
Yeah, I think Liam maybe spotted. Oh, Liam sideways, and he's
Oh,
spun.
and Mantalini just manages to get around the back of him. So that's a shame from our point of view, but at least there was no damage between the two of them there as they recovered.
Williams does have quite a big gap back to Knut, so he should be fine to keep his 8th position.
Right, back up to this battle for 2nd position. John Allett has closed a massive amount in the last lap to Wojciech Rabstein, and Colin Cunniff is not much further ahead, so it's maybe just taken John Allett a lap or two to find his pace a little bit, but if he can keep closing that sort of rate, he's going to be up with Colin Cunniff soon, let alone Rabstein.
Yeah, Colin doesn't seem to be pulling away from these guys, even though that Rabstein has got the damage. It's just a graphical
Rabstein
glitch.
and John Allett run wide coming up in the penultimate corner there.
It could possibly be the graphical glitch, but looking at the lap times, saying that, it did just go very quick, but John Allett went even quicker. 1:33.6 for John that last lap, and a 1:34.1 for Rabstein, so John Allett is on those fresher tyres, and in the draft, so that could be helping him a lot.
He's really the man on the move. He was nearly a second quicker than Colin Cunniff on that last lap.
But it's working to get the move done. We're on lap 21 of 24, so he's not got long to do it.
No, it's got to be turn 1 he's shaping up for, so he's not even going to have that final lap as such to get that move done, so that gives him one less opportunity really, unless Rabstein makes that mistake. So further back, Marco Montaldo's closed a good amount on his teammates in 5th position, João Rodrigues, so I would imagine they may well stay line astern if there's no errors, but they're a lot closer than they were, as John Allett's close now as well as they come out chicane towards the end of the lap.
Seems to get a very good second part of that chicane, does John Allett, but he's very close now, he's got the run.
Good entry into the penultimate corner there, so let's see if he can keep that momentum going. Good exit coming out that final corner. Again, Rabstein's got the draft from Cunniff ahead, but we'll see if John Allett can close. Looks like he's managing it. So Rabstein goes defensive very early, shows his intentions at least. That's going to give John Allett a good opportunity for an exit coming out of this turn 1, but he gets balked a little bit by Rabstein, so he's not able to take advantage of it. Good positioning really from Rabstein there to make sure John Allett couldn't get that drive coming out the corner. So slightly different lines between the two of them there coming through the hairpin as well, but they've both gained a fair chunk on Colin Cunniff in that last lap again, so the three of them are really closing right the way up. What were their lap times on that lap? So it was a 34.5 from Cunniff, 34.1 from Rabstein, and 33.7 again from John Allett. So that's the way we want it, closing up between the three of them each lap.
Yeah, it is a bit of a strange one that, because normally two battling cars slow down, but there are some cases where it does force the guy in front to push a little bit harder, as he just did. He made a mistake through the first of the S's.
Yeah, and again, Allett should get a good exit out of this corner now. He's got a little bit of a straight as well, but it looked like he had a bit of a wiggle as he tried to get on that power. He knew that was his opportunity if he could get a good exit, and perhaps he just had to back out of a little bit to keep the car under control. Meanwhile, Tony Requesard is about to start his penultimate lap as he cruises up in front with a good sort of 5-6+ second lead over Colin Cunniff. Cunniff looks like if he keeps it clean for this last lap as well, he should be safe now to Rabstein after their little bit of battling between himself and John Allett in that previous lap. So really then, it's whether Allett can get that move done on Rabstein. He's got this last opportunity to turn 1 and he's too far back. He's not going to get another chance.
Just as I said earlier, it does look like we've got Peter Velkov coming up to the back of Conrad Venter for the final point. So that could come down again to the last lap. So I'll keep an eye on this one if you want to keep an eye on the front one.
Yeah,
please.
absolutely. So Jean-Alain is still hustling Rabstein, keep him close behind coming through the S's. He's not again in a position yet to make a move, but if he can pressure Rabstein into a mistake again like we saw in the previous lap, then he's got to be right in there.
I just got Peter Velkov showing himself in Conrad's mirrors, so he does look a little bit racy, does Peter Velkov. Just coming around to the final corners. Conrad's gone very wide, loses a lot of speed. Right, oh, there's contact. I think Peter thought he was a bit further back than what he was. He's had to dive out of it, but he's looking to the inside, turn one. And he's made contact with Conrad, spun him round, and probably ended. Oh no, Conrad's still going. And really, Peter should give the position back.
Yeah, it's a shame for Conrad there. Right, Jean-Alain, as close as he's been coming onto the front straight now. Let's see if he's going to be able to get a good exit coming out of that final corner and make another move on Rabstein. Let's see if Rabstein feels the need to go defensive into turn one. He does, he moves across quite late that time. Jean-Alain has to cut back to the other side. Let's see if he can get that good exit again. But again, he's not really got anywhere to use that drive because Rabstein's positioned himself nicely. A little bit wide for Rabstein coming out of turn one, but keeps the momentum coming through. So Jean-Alain just needs to stay close as he can now and really just hope for a mistake from Rabstein to be able to nick that position, that third position, into the last little lap bit there. So Tony Repisard coming through the second half of the lap, all on his own in P1. Colin Cunniff looking safe in second. Rabstein and Jean-Alain very, very close to each other through the fastest section on the circuit, coming into the tighter infield. We've seen Rabstein make a little bit of an error in the last two laps on this corner they're coming around now, so he just needs to keep it clean to not give Jean-Alain a sniff. And again, Alec gets a good drive coming out of that corner, so if he can hang with him now through the sharp left-hander, good run down the straight, and Alec just has to back out of it a little bit there. That was a shame. Otherwise there's going to be contact. So that really now looks like it's going to be game over for that little battle as Tony Repisard comes round onto the penultimate corner. Now onto the final corner, nice and clean for Tony Repisard. There we go, from the back of the grid, from the very last position to the lead of the race. And
if you want to come back to this little battle,
Tony Repisard, yeah, Colin Cunniff looking like it's going to be safe in second. And then Jean-Alain all over the back.
He's very much under his wing, so he could get the run here.
Yeah, he's going to go defensive a little bit, cover up a space, but it holds as they were. So very, very close between Rabstein and Jean-Alain there. Great little finish to the race. And he blew his engine. Marco Montaldo and João Rodrigues closed massively on those two in those last few laps there. And in fact, there was a switch of position. So Marco Montaldo got ahead of João Rodrigues whilst we were with the cars in front. So they closed massively in those last couple of laps. Next car over line then is Fabio Mentolini, so he finishes in 7th position. Then we've got Liam Williams coming over line in 8th, so he'll be happy with that then. Looked like a pretty clean race apart from that little spin we saw into the hairpin from him for the 8th position finish.
Now we may have another little battle for the final 9th and 10th. It does look like Canucks run out of fuel.
And Peter Velkov's coming up the outside already into that penultimate corner.
Oh, contact again!
And on first view, it looked like Martinson gave him a lot of space there. It felt like Peter Velkov could have been a fair chunk further to the left. I stand to be corrected, but on first view, that was a bit of a shame. But they're both going to cross the line and stay as they were. So Peter Velkov gets that 10th position.
And Conrad in 11th. Aaron Mullen 12th. Chelsea is 13th, Nenad 14th, and Justin Lindsay 15th. So that rounds us out, and that's the end of the race. I'm sure Conrad will be very frustrated with Peter Velkov, as well as his teammate Canot, actually.
And I can imagine we might hear a little bit of that from several different drivers. I mean, we saw quite a lot of action really through it race, didn't we? Lots of coming together, lots of close, clean racing as well. But some risky manoeuvres maybe on this tough circuit to overtake. It really is just turn one. That's the nice clean opportunity, unless there's a mistake from another driver. Well, that race went very, very quickly, didn't it? Battles all the way through, really. It strung out a little bit early on. I thought we were going to perhaps struggle for an entertaining race, but it certainly closed up very quickly again. And battles all the way through the grid. It was great fun. And yeah, as I thought, a couple of murmurs going on in spectator chat as I wondered if perhaps there would be a couple of unhappy drivers. So no doubt we'll hear from one or two of them as they come up with interviews as we go through the next few minutes.
But yeah, the start was very good, very clean. Everyone showed respect, and then it just all seemed to go downhill from there. We saw a few different tactical pit stops from different drivers. Tony Rapidard showing why he has won this championship, starting from the very back and taking the first position.
Yeah, he really just put everybody else back in their place in this race, didn't he? I mean, I guess arguably you could say that, you know, without contact elsewhere for other drivers, and if João Rodrigues perhaps had a clean inch into pit, perhaps he would have been challenging a lot closer. But nonetheless, Tony Rapidard would have been right there, and you wouldn't have been surprised if he'd have still managed to take that win.
Very true. He managed his tyres very well. He had the pace the whole race, did Tony, so he pretty much is a master of this car. So we just got Colin Cunniff in ready for interview, but just before we bring him up, let's just say thank you to our sponsors. We have GT Omega sponsoring us, giving away a rig or a wheel stand for this. Thank you very much to those guys. We have ARL themselves, obviously paying for the hosting of these sessions, bringing everybody together on a Friday, and hosting other sessions as well. So thank you very much, ARL. We have ARL-TV also, another sister company of ARL themselves, bringing you the broadcasts. Myself, Lee, Darren, and the other guys with Alex and Woody. And also not forgetting Sim News Daily, keeping you up to date with all the latest Sim news. So thank you very much, go check him out. So let's just bring Colin up as we look through this chatting. There's a lot of chatting. Less than 3 minutes.
Few unhappy drivers, I think we're seeing at the end of the race. But frankly, you know, a bit of action for us, a bit of entertainment. Now that I'm not in the thick of it, that's what we want, I'm afraid. So good evening, Colin. Congratulations on your great results. Second position. You were one of 3 drivers who decided to go for that early pit stop, and it obviously worked out well for you.
Well, I think I was the one that sort of made everybody go for it. Then I'd said after the race he tried to cover me off, but I saw nothing was going to happen. Staying behind Nenad, and I saw Tony was coming up, so I just knew he would be desperate to get past. So I thought the best thing to do would be pit as soon as possible, and it turned out that was it. I had 0.1 at the very end then, so I timed it to perfection. Everybody else just sort of followed me in.
Yeah, we thought you'd come in a little bit too early on lap 6, or the end of lap 5, was it?
End of lap 6, because I knew that, I thought, well, lap 6 was a bit early, and then I thought lap 7, that would give me an extra lap to be able to get through, but as it turns out, it was a bit too marginal for my liking.
Oh, yeah, you timed that perfectly. How were your tyres? Did you take tyres on the pit stop as well, or did you not
No,
bother?
I didn't take tyres, no. First, I just thought, well, I'll just chance it. There was no point in changing tyres this early. The only way changing tyres would be if you were doing it halfway through the race, just because after a few laps they were just burning up anyway. So it was just a case of just trying to maintain them, and then that was it. I managed to just sort of keep behind Nenad for a bit and just keep the tyres sort of decent temperature, and that seemed to work out.
Yeah, and you had some great little battles after your pit stops there, Colin, between you, Nenad, and Tony, but managed to get through it all cleanly.
Well, I nearly ended it for both me and Nenad. When Tony was behind us, I sort of braked a little bit early, but it was not early enough, and I just nearly creamed into the back of him, and that's how Tony got past me. But it wasn't really Tony that was trying to keep behind, it was just trying to keep an eye on Nenad, and it was my outdoing, and he got past. But yeah, it was interesting having Tony behind you.
Yeah, well, as you said, it worked out well for you. So that's your strongest result of the season, and And I guess it's been a little bit of an up and down season for you, Colin. Yeah, you've shown the pace, but you had those instances lots of us have.
Yeah, it's been I've always had that sort of inconsistency. I've never been able to sort of do full races as such, so I'm getting there, but like I say, it's something I'm working on a lot at the moment, so hopefully keep working at it and see how it goes.
Well, it certainly seemed to work well for you today, Colin. So, great result again. Congratulations, and we shall see you no doubt next week.
Cheers, guys.
Colin, well done.
Seems we don't have anybody else in the ready to interview, so it's up to you if you just want to pick anybody at random, or as Darren just says, let's wrap it up.
Yeah, I think everyone is busy chatting away in spectator chat at the moment as well.
No,
but
hang on.
right on cue.
Mr. Venter. Mr. Venter, how was that for yourself?
Oh, that was very eventful, fellas.
Yeah, we saw at the start you just kept your line like you normally do, keep it on track. I actually saw you do a very nice overtake on your teammate Canot. Maybe a little bit of contact, but you got past cleanly.
Yeah, it did come up as a contact, but it was time 0. I didn't feel anything, but yeah, I couldn't pull away after that, and then I think it was a turn 3 or 4 that caught me out a couple of times, and I'm pretty sure you guys covered a bit of the action with myself and Peter at the end.
Yeah, unfortunately so, Conrad. You just missed out on that point there, but consistency for you really. Finishing all of these races, the vast majority of them certainly. You've got to be happy considering you came in so late to the series as well.
Yeah, it's the first few races was a bit of a wake-up call, because I used to think I was at a decent pace, and then you get with these guys and you realize you're gonna have to pick it up. But the last 2 races have been really good, especially tonight. Sort of hanging on to the pack after the start, and obviously there must have been a few incidents because I found myself in the points again. I just couldn't keep hold of it tonight.
Well, you ended up not very far off at all, only 4 seconds from that last points paying position. Okay, well done, Conrad. I'd say it was good to see you a little bit getting involved. Say great move, as Dean told us, with your teammate earlier on. And no doubt we shall see you again next week.
Fantastic, lovely. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Conrad. Bye-bye. Right, so as Dean was in the middle of telling us a moment ago, then I think that's going to be wrapping us up for tonight. Are the V8s running tomorrow, Dean?
We are, and I will be in the box again. So I've got to get up early in the morning.
What time is that, sorry?
I don't know.
Okay, good. So your 2 main commentators for ARL-TV don't know when their next series is on, so that's good. But what I can tell you is that the iRacing Grand Prix series on Sunday night will be at 6 o'clock GMT, 7 o'clock British Summer Time. And we shall see you as well probably next week for the GP260 series for the very final round. I'm not sure where that is, so we'll find out where we end up next week.
We'll be at Watkins, but I will not be here.
Okay. Well, myself I think will be here, and we'll see who gets lumbered with the job of keeping me company. So Watkins in for the final round, that should be good. That's a real favourite, of course, for the drivers. Is it boot? Do you know? Dean?
I think it's boot without the chicanes. So is that classic boot?
Yeah, classic boot. That sounds like. I think that's the preference for the drivers. Great. Okay, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us tonight. Don't forget this will be up on YouTube if you want to catch up on it after the stream as well. And well done to the top podium positions. Tony Rebsard taking a dominant win from final position, Colin Cunniff in second, and Wojciech Rabstein in third. Evening, guys. Thank you very much.
Take your hobby to the next level with a quality racing rig that works great with a PS3, Xbox 360, and a PC. GT Omega Racing Simulator is compatible with a wide range of steering wheels, including Logitech, Fanatec, Thrustmaster, and more. The GT Omega is available now worldwide by going to www.gtomegaracing.com.
Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Drivers, start your engines!
Michael Conti comes up at a corner number 4 in the checkered flag. He wins his first NASCAR iRacing.